Okay, so we're gonna do some more ground movement here. And this is our introduction to crawling video. So we'll play around in a quadruped position. I'm going to give you some things, some points to think about in your quadruped position. This is very low risk, so you can work along with me. So just come back down into this quadruped position here. We're gonna be thinking about our feet, our knees, and our hands on the ground. So as far as your hands are concerned, I want you to think about having your fingers pointing straight forward. So you could think about your middle finger pointing straight forward, and this little elbow pit here. You could turn your elbow so that it's pointing right at your middle finger. Now, different people have different shapes to their bones, so do what is comfortable for you. We want your elbows to be as extended as possible, not necessarily flexed. That may not work for you in your body, so find what feels good to you and explore that extension. In other words, explore how straight your elbows can be. Okay, so once you're in this quadruped position with fingers pointing forward and elbows as extended as possible, shift your focus to your space between your shoulders. And I want you to, we'll call that your heart space. And you can shift your heart space up toward the ceiling and then down toward the floor. Elbows staying extended and elbow pits aiming toward the middle finger. So heart space down toward the ground, heart space up toward the ceiling. Play around with that shift back and forth so that you sort of juice up that space between the scapulae and the rib cage. So shifting the shoulders so that you're pushing the ground away from you and then allowing the shoulder blades or the scapulae to come together and back. Now, you may need a rest at this point because you've been on your wrists for a while. So at any point in this video, if you feel like you need to rest your wrists, just come into this wrist rest position so we can sort of decompress that carpal tunnel area. But if you're ready to move on, come back into your quadruped position and let's shift our focus to some other points. So you've got hands, fingers pointing forward, elbows pointing toward middle finger. Find what is sort of neutral-ish for you and your shoulders. So not pushing the ground away from you completely and not allowing the shoulder blades to be completely together here, but somewhere in the middle. We'll get more sophisticated with where our shoulders are in future videos. Then I want you to find what is neutral in your spine. Don't get hung up on exactly what is exactly neutral, but find what's comfortable in your spine. So not exactly rounded toward the ceiling and not exactly into this extended position, but somewhere in the middle there. Then take your focus and put it on your hips. So we don't want this anterior tilt in your pelvis, and we don't want necessarily a posterior tilt in your pelvis, but somewhere in the middle. Then we also want your pelvis over your knees. So think about how can you get your pelvis right over your knees so that if we had a yardstick here, your femurs or your upper thigh bone would be straight up and down in line with your pelvis. Now, once you have all of those little bits sorted out, start to play around with a clock movement here. So shift all the way to 3 o'clock and then shift all the way to 9 o'clock. Shift all the way to 12 o'clock and then shift not all the way to 6 o'clock. So just kind of back just a little bit. So what you're doing here is you're exploring your base of support, shifting your weight to all those different points of contact. The only thing I'm going to add, the last thing, is maybe just draw your belly button up slightly toward your spine as you do this and feel how that adds a little stability. And I'm going to leave you with that right now. So your homework here for this video is just to shift and explore your base of support in this quadruped position. The next video we'll start to move forward with crawling and get a little bit more sophisticated in our cueing about where our body is in space. So enjoy.